Experiment number 10. Subject communication skill. Experiment name: listening comprehension, direct and indirect speech. Already we study direct and indirect speech. Direct sentence will be converted, how to convert into the indirect speech. But when you are learning communication skill, this is a very important factor that we have to learn direct and indirect comprehension. So there are many occasions in which we need to describe an event or action that happened. Very often that includes repeating what someone said. Such occasion can include a social situation as well as in a work email or a presentation. In order to describe what people said, there are two different type of speech. First is a direct speech, and then is a indirect speech or a reported speech. So in this experiment, we have to learn direct speech, indirect speech, changing time expression, how to change the time expression, and next is a reporting and questions, then reporting. Okay, so in indirect speech, read the first. When we want to describe what someone said, one option is to use, that is the direct speech. We use direct speech when we simply repeat that someone says, putting the phrases between speech marks. Okay, so we directly say the sentence like Paul come in and said, I am really hungry. Okay, so Paul is said that I am really hungry, and we are just repeating Paul's sentence that I am really hungry. So we translate it as it is. So it is a direct speech. Then come to the indirect speech. Okay, there are some other example for the direct speech. That is the she replied, no, I haven't seen him since lunchtime. Okay, we translate her speech as it is. We translate or we repeat her sentence as it is. So it is called the direct speech. Now come to the indirect speech. What is indirect speech? We are going to translate or we are going to change the tense. Okay, we are going to change the tense or we are going to change the subject in a indirect speech. Okay, indirect speech we are going to just translate as it is. Okay, he said me that he is hungry. This is a direct speech. Okay, the Paul said I am hungry, and I repeat that Paul's sentence to someone that Paul said I am really hungry. I just repeat that as it is, so it is a direct speech. But indirect speech, what is that? Indirect speech, what is that? In this speech, we are going to change the subject or time. Okay, so this is called the indirect speech. So in this first paragraph, we are going to change the subject. So direct speech is what? We are quite cold in here. So it will be changed into the indirect speech. They says that they are cold. Okay, so just we are translate, we change this we is a subject in first sentence. We just change the subject in the another sentence, that is it will become the indirect speech. Okay, so we are quite cold in here, so we change the subject. They says that they are cold. Okay, so it will be converted into the indirect speech. So first method, to report or to convert indirect speech to change a subject. To change a subject. Okay. Paul said, I am really hungry. How to change this sentence in an indirect speech? That he. Paul replied. Paul said. So, for an example, to convert the direct speech into the indirect speech, first method is change the subject. So, we take one example that Paul said, I am really hungry. So, this sentence will converted into the indirect speech like Paul said that he is really hungry. Okay, he is really hungry. He is really hungry. Okay, so as per this, when you are translate direct speech into the indirect speech, use one method, that change subject. Then next method is to change the tense. Okay, next method is to change the tense. Okay, so here is a simple example in direct speech, that is I have a new car. I have a new car. So in this method we are going to change tense. We are going to change a tense. So he said have instead of I. He said, also change the subject and also change the tense. He said that he had a new car. So this is the another method to convert the direct speech into the indirect speech. Also change the subject and also change the tense. Okay, so I have new car. This is the sentence. So it become in the indirect speech is he said that he had a new car, or he said he had a new car. Okay, so here is a chart of direct and indirect speech. In this chart is showing that how to change simple present to the simple past, simple future to the simple past. So learn this example. For an example, present perfect tense, it will change into the past perfect tense. He said, I have finished. I have finished. So he said he had finished. Okay, so change the tense. If your direct speech in a present simple tense, so your indirect speech also changing the present simple, past simple tense. Okay, if your direct speech is in a present simple tense, when you converting that sentence into the indirect speech, you convert into the past simple tense. Okay, then next point is changing the time expression. Okay, changing the time expression. So we have to change the time expression. Okay, so sometimes necessary to change the time expression when you report the speech. Then how to change? We just see in direct speech, I am seeing my brother tomorrow. So she said she was seeing her brother the following day. So we have to change the time. Okay, because in indirect speech there is some time will past, there is some time is past before you are convert that sentence, so you have to change the time expression. Okay, so here is some example to change the time expression. I had headache yesterday. So you said you would had a headache that day before yesterday. Okay, so simple sentence, I haven't seen them since last week. I haven't seen them since last week. So change the tense also, change the subject also. I see, then haven't to change in a said. She said that she hadn't seen them since the previous week. Okay, previous week. Last week changing to the previous week. So as per this example, you have to change the time expression when you are changing direct speech into the indirect speech. Okay. Okay, so next point is reporting the question. When you convert the questions into the indirect speech, if the question having the answer in a yes/no type, at that time you are converting the question, direct question to the indirect question, use if. Okay, when the questions start with the special questions words like what, where, who, at that time change the interrogative form to the affirmative form. So you have to change the object, you have to change the subject and also change the tense. So change the interrogative to affirmative form. So see this example, where do they live? So you asked me where they lived. Okay, when you are living, where, when you are living. So indirect speech is what? He asked us that when we were live. He asked us when we were new. So how will they get here? How will they get here? So change the subject. She asked. Change the tense. She asked me how they would get here. Okay. So while the question is having answer yes or no, to convert into the indirect questions or indirect speech, use if, and while the questions used special questions word, that is where, what, when, who, at that time change the interrogative form to the affirmative form. So simple, change the subject, also change the tense. Okay. Next format is the reporting order. So next type is the reporting and orders request. If you are giving order to someone or requesting someone, in this case we only use the verb, we don't use the subject. So while you are converting orders into the indirect speech, use a tell verb. Okay, use a tell verb and convert into the past tense. So you tell me you have a seat. So he told me have a seat. Then next, when in a simple, we remember that when you convert order into the indirect speech, use a tell word and convert into the appreciate or appreciate tense. Convert it into the appreciate tense. Okay. Then if you are requesting someone, normally we use the word can, could, will. At that time we when you convert the request into the indirect speech, at that time we have to use word ask, and asked convert into the past tense. So see this example, will you have a seat? So this is the direct speech. In the indirect speech, this will become use ask. So ask converted into the past tense. He asked me to have a seat. So simple reporting and order, while you are converting